Ross, last segment, I closed it out by saying that Joe Brady would never leave LSU for another college coordinator job because LSU just wouldn't allow that to happen. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. It honest to God, it's kind of the same thing that happened with Dave Aranda, a few years ago. The flirtation with Texas A&M a little bit there. They came after him, and it was kind of a similar situation. LSU wasn't going to allow him to leave, so they gave him what amounted at the time, and I think still is at least the highest salary for a coordinator in college football and in college football history at $2.5 million. So it's kind of similar now. I don't necessarily expect Joe Brady to get $2.5 million, but I do obviously expect him to get a fairly massive raise, and I think those things have been discussed and or maybe are still going on as far as discussions. Although you're right in the middle of a season like this, it's tough. The bye week is probably a time to do that. After the SEC championship game, in between the college football playoff, is time to do that. But I think LSU will do everything they can, and they know they gotta pay, and not only that, but they gotta probably shift around titles a little bit. That's the thing, because Steve Ensminger and I think Joe Brady, everything you hear from people inside the program and when you hear from them is they really genuinely enjoy working with one another, and I think they want to continue to do it.
Ross, you've seen some pretty powerful images come out of Tiger Stadium and covering the program for a while. Where is what you saw on Saturday night rank with Joe Burrow being recognized before they kicked it off as a part of senior night?
It's up there, it's up there, and not just just kind of this like fairy tale type of ending for several people and in a lot of different ways. Joe Burrow obviously going out, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, another incredible mark for accuracy, and going out to complete the program's, 4th time in history they've gone with the perfect season in the regular season and beating an old rival, that last year, just plain and simple ticked everybody off at LSU. So kind of getting some revenge there. It all kind of came together on that one night and felt like one of the most special nights that I've seen in Tiger Stadium. The one thing I would compare it to, and again, you didn't have a Heisman Trophy finalist on the field, but I can remember being in Tiger Stadium for the 2001 season when LSU beat Auburn to go to the SEC championship game for the first time ever, and the fans I think rushed the field and stuff. That it just kind of, I don't know, that's the one that kind of stuck out. I was talking in the press box with somebody about that one. It just kind of feels like it's been, at that point it was the first time they'd ever gone to the SEC championship game. It had started maybe 10 years before that, and there's an 8-year gap here, and now they're going back and completing the perfect season. So it was a special moment in that stadium for sure.
Ross, 12-0. It's been done. This is the 4th time in school history. We're talking about over 100 years. You knew this team, this program inside and out when you were here 3 years ago. Think back to like maybe the first year of Ed Ogeron. Did you think that Ed Ogeron would be the coach of a 12-0 LSU team?
No, probably not. It's hard to believe in a lot of ways, just because, and everybody, and I did too. It's just one of the things you revert to. You look at someone's past, and it's like, can this man who went 10-25 up the road there at Ole Miss in the same division go undefeated in the regular season? Like, it's hard to wrap your mind around that happening. But Ed has made some, as a coach of a major college program, I think too many coaches get wrapped up in X's and O's, especially when they're offensive kind of gurus and they're focused on offense and X's and O's. Ed Ed has taken the approach because he's not an offensive guy and he hasn't been a defensive coordinator, I don't think, ever. And so he's taken the CEO type of approach where his big thing, he is going to motivate, recruit, and he's going to make big decisions about personnel, about coach.
Yeah.
And that is the latter thing he has done really, really well. He's gone out and taken some risks and gotten players and coaches into the program that have helped them get here. And of course, they're tearing it up on the recruiting trail. That continues to be rolling. But I look at his hires of obviously Joe Brady. I look at him fighting and keeping Dave Aranda, just giving him having a coach on his staff get paid. I don't know, like 80% of his own salary when all that happened, and then bringing in guys like the kicker Cole Tracy last year that helped tremendously, probably won him a game or two, and then Joe Burrow, obviously bringing him in. Those are key pieces, additions that honestly, guys, the last coach, didn't do some of those things. Les was a guy who didn't going crazy about transfers, and a lot of times he hired kind of his guy as an assistant. Ed has gone out and he's taken some risks and they've paid off.
I love the college football subreddit, and I think the top comment on the LSU A&M postgame probably says it best. An Ed Orgeron coach team just went 12-0 behind their unstoppable offense. What the bleep? I mean, it's wild, dude. Spread Orgeron. He's here to stay. Talking to Ross Dellenger from Sports Illustrated. Ross, the playoff committee. It's almost that time. Tuesday night. A night that gets a ton of just insane reaction throughout the country. LSU fans now experiencing really the week-to-week of being in the top four, what it's like. What do you expect the playoff committee's decision to be, given the two games that you witnessed on Saturday?
Well, I mean, Ohio State went on the road to a top 15 team and bludgeoned them pretty good. Although it was close for the first two and a half quarters, but eventually, pulled away in a blowout. So because of that, I don't expect movement. And you saw the AP poll that gives you some indication maybe of how people are feeling in the industry, and that had LSU losing 10 more first place votes, all of them going to Ohio State after this weekend. LSU's now got 40 first place votes in the AP poll, and Ohio State has 19, Clemson has 3. So they lost 10 more this past weekend. And, again, just an indicator of what I might expect for the college football playoff to do, and that's, I would guess, keep it the same. I think the only way, guys, that it flips. Now, I will say this, though. LSU, you look at Texas A&M, and I know they're not a great team. They're 7-5, but they played Georgia, and it was 19-13, I think was their final score there. They played Clemson. It was 24-10. Look what LSU did to them. And I think that's got to be looked at there. And you got to look at the defense, which the college football playoff kind of highlighted as the reason why they swapped Ohio State and LSU.
Yeah.
And the defense played really well. Here's the thing. So I think it's going to stay the same, but I think it changes next week potentially. The only thing I can see it really changing or them swapping it if this happens. If Ohio State, especially its defense, looks poor and it's a tight game against Wisconsin, and then LSU's defense looks really strong in a blowout of Georgia. I think at that point they should switch them, and I think at that point, they might.
Ross Dellenger every week here on Off the Bench Monday, recapping the college football weekend. You were in Virginia for the Wahoos taking on Virginia Tech, and they get the upset victory there. Can they challenge Clemson in any aspect this weekend?
I don't think so. I just don't see it, man. I was at that game, and they actually struggled. They allowed some points, and they had to come back to win at the very end. Virginia Tech kind of had them on the ropes there in the second half. Clemson is just so explosive on offense that in also Virginia's offense. They got Bryce Perkins, the quarterback. He can run it around like crazy. His first half against Virginia Tech was it was bad. I mean, he was missing some throws. And on the ground, it was good. He ran the ball like crazy, and then they finally stopped that, and then they didn't have anything, and then he threw a couple of bombs in the second half. But I just don't see it. Clemson is just too explosive, and just has been on that stage so much,
Utah or Oklahoma?
Man, Oklahoma and Utah. I know the resume. You look at just numbers and resumes. Oklahoma's got the better resume. They got the better strength of schedule.
Yeah.
I think they got the more quality wins. But Utah will get Oregon and have a shot at a big quality win there.
Ross, enjoy Atlanta. You'll be in Georgia, right?
I will.
All right, man. We'll see you there. Thank you.